In the quiet town of Hastings, the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the suburban houses nestled in neat rows. This serene facade concealed the storm brewing within the heart of one home, where Matt, a devoted husband, had just returned from yet another long day at work. He was the quintessential family man, reliable, consistent, and deeply trusting. For years, he had worked tirelessly at his corporate job, determined to provide a stable life for his wife, Susan, and their two children. He believed that hard work was the foundation of happiness, and he reveled in the mundane routines of family life. Yet, beneath the layers of perceived normalcy, cracks began to emerge. It started with small signs: late nights at the office, a new perfume lingering in the air, and an inexplicable shift in Susan's demeanor. But Matt dismissed these as mere byproducts of his demanding job. He was built on faith, convinced that the love he had nurtured for over a decade would not falter. His love for Susan was anchored in loyalty and trust. As the first autumn leaves began to fall, the uneasiness intensified. One fateful evening, while scrolling through his phone, a message popped up from an unknown number, igniting a feeling of dread. It contained a photo, a candid shot of Susan, entwined in intimate laughter with a man Matt recognized, Tom, his closest friend and colleague. The ground shifted beneath him. His heart raced as he envisioned their secret rendezvous, the whispers he had long ignored dissolving into a haunting reality. Confrontation was unavoidable. As he stormed into the living room, Susan sat, her eyes wide with shock. He dropped the phone on the table and demanded the truth, the piece of evidence hovering between them like a guillotine. The silence hovered, heavy with unspoken confessions. It shattered when she finally admitted to the betrayal, her voice trembling as she justified her actions. She had grown tired, she said, of the monotony, of Matt's unwavering dedication that felt more like a cage than a sanctuary. The hurt in his chest twisted as she placed the blame squarely on his shoulders. A simmering rage replaced Matt's initial shock. How could she betray him with the one person he considered a brother? As he absorbed her words, a low, simmering fury ignited within him, stoking a fire he had never known existed. Like a dam breaking, he unleashed a torrent of frustration, launching into a tirade that shook the very foundation of their lives together. Susan broke down, her tears cascading freely now. But Matt felt no sympathy. He had crossed a line that separated trust from treachery. In the days that followed, Matt plotted his course. The very stability he once cherished was now a weapon he would wield with precision. First, he sought legal counsel. He learned of rights, responsibilities, and potential financial repercussions. The numbers danced in his mind, quenching the anger that had fueled his actions. Matt began to block Susan's access to their joint accounts, freezing assets, preparing for a fight that would dismantle everything she had believed she could maintain. The public revelation of Susan's infidelity would come next, and with it, the fortitude to reclaim his dignity. He began crafting a strategy, ensuring his choice of words would catch her off guard. It would be in a meeting, an ordinary corporate gathering where colleagues gathered for drinks. The perfect stage for her downfall. As he plotted, he noticed a pattern among their so-called friends. Invitations began to dwindle, and whispers echoed in corners he could no longer ignore. Matt, a social creature by nature, felt the betrayal seep into every aspect of life, each day becoming an exercise in resolve. He was turning from a loving husband into a force of nature, unyielding in his quest for justice. The night of the corporate gathering arrived, and with it a palpable tension. Matt had confided in a few trusted allies, chosen soldiers for this war of emotions. He had compiled evidence, text messages, photos, and witnesses who could testify to the depth of Susan's betrayal. Each piece reinforced his determination, and with a heart pounding with equal parts rage and resolve, he took his place in the center of the room. As the laughter and clinking of glasses echoed around him, Matt finally stood. He recounted the story, the betrayal unfolding before their eyes like a slow-motion nightmare. Eyes widened, gasps filled the air as his words painted a vivid picture of deceit and heartbreak. Susan's face paled, a mixture of fury and humiliation washing over her as the room turned against her. For Matt, the satisfaction was unmistakable. He had positioned her as the villain. The room erupted into a buzz of shock and condemnation directed entirely at Susan. Tom's stare pierced through Matt, his face reflecting the cold realization of what had just unraveled. Friends he thought would support Susan now stood frozen, processing her betrayal, witnessing her public humiliation, and turning their backs while she crumbled under the weight of her choices. In that instant, Matt tasted not just victory, but the catharsis of true justice served. It was a beautiful, brutal unveiling of character, one that dismantled the fabric of deceit they had woven together. As Susan pleaded for understanding in the aftermath of her unveiling, seeking forgiveness showered in tears, Matt simply smirked, a cold edge alloying his heart. No, Susan, you chose your path, and now you must walk it alone. He savored every word, feeling the power surge as he watched her crumble. Her cries echoed in the gathering, leaving her isolated. No one stood up to defend her, and she realized in that moment that she had lost everything. With that final blow, he left her standing alone in a sea of judgment, walking away with the force of a storm, invigorated in his newfound freedom, tasting the salt of triumph at the edges of his bitterness. This was just the beginning. The world he once trusted had become a battlefield, and he had only just begun to dismantle the empire of deception that had fallen from grace. Matt could not anticipate the extent of the war he was about to wage, but he was ready to embrace the darkness, unwilling to succumb to self-pity. He envisioned every confrontation to come, every grim victory, relishing the thought of the upheaval about to erupt in the lives of everyone who had betrayed him. A metamorphosis had begun. He would rise from the ashes, wielding the power he had forgotten existed within him. And as he walked into the night, a newfound determination coursed through him. The monster of betrayal had awoken, and it was time for retribution. With each passing day, Matt's life transformed into a calculated strategy for retribution. Nights that were once filled with familiarity and domesticity now became planning sessions, adorned with spreadsheets and legal documents. His emotions, once fueled by love and loyalty, had morphed into an unrelenting resolve to dismantle the life Susan so carelessly shattered. She had made a fool of him, and now he would ensure she learned the consequences of her actions. His first order of business was the divorce proceedings. Matt met with his lawyer, an astute woman named Rebecca, who understood not only the law but also the emotional undercurrents at play. She listened as Matt outlined his story, the betrayals, the lies. They discussed division of assets, alimony, and the implications of infidelity. Every detail mattered. It was about more than just property. It was about justice. You need to document everything, Rebecca advised, her voice calm yet decisive. Every expense, every joint account. I can help you ensure that you emerge from this without losing your footing. We can set up a legal blockade that she won't be able to bypass. Motivated, Matt became a diligent student of his own life, calling up bank statements, gathering evidence of Susan's extravagant spending on her affair, taking note of every dinner they shared that ranged from overpriced sushi to weekend getaways. It was meticulous work, personal finance in the context of betrayal, but it was his lifeline to gaining control. However, the psychological battle did not rest solely within the confines of court documents. No, it blossomed in the social fabric of their entwined lives. As word of Susan's betrayal circulated among friends and colleagues, Matt discovered a strange sensation of clarity, sharpening the agony into a weapon of empowerment. He was no longer just a victim. He was a crusader, fighting against the toxic aura of deceit that had overshadowed his existence. Tom was the next target in Matt's sights, the once cherished friend who had turned into a traitorous snake. Matt cornered Tom at a local bar, choosing a time when the atmosphere was rife with laughter, unaware of the storm that was about to unfold in their midst. Tom looked smug, assuming Matt had come to bury the hatchet, believing the betrayal could be swept under the rug. Once they were seated at a booth in the back, Matt leaned in, his voice low but piercing. "Why don't you tell me the story again, Tom? The explanation for why you thought this would be acceptable." The laughter surrounding them faded. Tom shifted uncomfortably, his bravado cracking like thin ice. "Matt, I invited you into my home. I trusted you with my family," Matt pressed, his voice steady but laced with fury. "Do you know what you've done? You've destroyed everything I've built. And for what? A cheap thrill? Look, it happened, and I'm sorry," Tom attempted to deflect, his shoulders tightening. "It wasn't my intention to hurt you." "Then why did you do it?" The anger coursed through Matt like a river unleashed, unrelenting. "We had good times. You were my brother in arms. And now you beg for forgiveness like a coward, just like Susan." Matt's sudden indifference shocked Tom. He had expected sympathy or confrontation fortified with anger, but Matt was wielding something far sharper: cold, calculated resolve. With each revelation, the air thickened, suffocating Tom under the weight of his guilt. He began to sweat, the sheen reflecting in the dim light of the bar. This wasn't merely about Matt. It was about making a statement. "Susan will fall, Tom. And when she does, I hope you're right there to witness it." Matt leaned back, allowing the statement to sink. There was no mercy left in him for either of them. Days turned into weeks, and the divorce proceedings began. Matt filed for a dissolution of their marriage with the explicit accusation of infidelity, setting off ripples of gossip within their community. Susan was unprepared for the swift legal barrage aimed at her, and she dealt with the consequences publicly. Court documents were shared among friends, and the whispers grew louder. "Did you hear about Susan?" A stark image formed in Matt's mind, a collage of the emotions he felt during their years together, the laughter, the family vacations, all tainted by Susan's betrayal. Now, however, he reveled in his new circumstances, thriving in the strength he had summoned from the ashes. The tether of pretentious friendships frayed, unraveling as he aligned himself with those who valued respect and honor, those who were willing to stand by him in his time of need. In direct contrast, Susan was quickly becoming the pariah of their social circle. Invitations dwindled, her phone calls went unanswered, and the lovers that brushed against her once flourishing charisma now found her to be a source of gossip instead of allure. She had slipped from being a cherished partner to a complicated blend of resentment and rejection. The financial aspect of the divorce was brutal too. Matt was relentless, seeking full custody of their children and demanding significant alimony. Every court date left Susan flinching at the realization that she had risked everything for fleeting passions. She tried appealing to Matt's better nature, sending messages filled with remorse and pleas for reconciliation. They fell flat, as his heart hardened, confirmed by her need for sympathy. How naive she must have thought he was, believing that tenderness still resided within him. The final hearing approached like a dire confrontation that would bring their troubled chapter to a swift close. The anticipation crackled in the air, and Matt's resolve only strengthened as he stepped into the courtroom. It was time to conclude this saga once and for all. As they faced each other across the room, Matt could see the exhaustion etched into Susan's features. The woman who once embodied warmth and affection was now a mere shadow of her former self, a casualty of her choices. When the judge called for order, Matt's heart raced, knowing this moment marked not just the closing of a marriage, but the shattering of illusions. Before the judge, Matt listed the myriad of transgressions, indifferent to the tears forming in Susan's eyes as they settled into the bitter reality of the courtroom. "I seek not just to dissolve our marriage, Your Honor. I seek accountability for the choices made. I demand full custodial rights and substantial support." given the emotional and financial distress she has caused. Susan's head drooped, defeated. As the ruling came down, echoing through the chambers of the court, Matt realized he had indeed emerged victorious. Not with just assets or children, but with a power he had long thought lost. Savoring his triumph, Matt walked out of the courtroom, feeling like a different man entirely, defined not by sorrow but by strength and resolution. His life, once mired in desolation, had begun anew, leaving behind the remnants of a broken relationship and the betrayal lurking in its shadows. As he turned to leave, he glanced over his shoulder. Susan was still seated, her head in her hands, broken by her own choices. There were no feelings of pity left in his heart, only the satisfaction of knowing that the battle was won, and she had fallen victim to her greed. With that final glimpse, Matt stepped into a world reborn, a man made whole by the destruction of deceit, ready to forge his own path, free of chains, guilt, or remorse. The winds had changed, and for the first time, they felt like genuine freedom. In the weeks that followed the court ruling, Matt reveled in the exhilaration of newfound freedom, but the glow of victory was not without its bittersweet undertones. As he settled into his new life, dedicating time to his children and rediscovering passions long forsaken for the demands of his marriage, the shadows of betrayal lingered at the edges of his heart. He had struck back against Susan and Tom, but the scars of trust broken were not as easily erased. Days became a blur of school drop-offs, evening homework battles, and weekend outings at the park, where laughter punctuated the silence of the summer that had once felt so heavy. The joy of fatherhood provided a soothing balm, but Matt couldn't ignore the nagging thought. Could he ever truly forgive? Could he rebuild a life without remnants of the past, haunting every corner? His social network had fractured, and navigating relationships felt foreign. With friends divided, many choosing to side with Susan, those who had known her sparkle for years, Matt embraced solitude. He found himself drawn closer to a few loyal friends who understood the depth of his pain, offering solidarity in a world where support had become scarce. Among them was Rebecca, his lawyer, who had morphed into a confidant of sorts. "You deserve happiness, Matt," she would remind him over coffee, her gaze steady as she encouraged him to embrace a future unwritten. During one of their conversations, Rebecca suggested a bold step. "Have you considered doing something for yourself? A fresh start could help heal old wounds." At first, he scoffed at the idea. He didn't have time, a divorce, 2 kids, and all the implications of single parenthood looming over him. But the seed was planted, and soon he found himself pondering what it was that had uplifted him before love clouded his judgment. It wasn't long before he decided to revitalize an old passion, photography. He delved into the artistry he once loved, capturing the vibrancy of his children's laughter and the serene beauty of their suburban surroundings. With each click of the shutter, he felt a part of himself gradually awaken. There was solace in focusing on the little things: light streaming through trees, the faint reflections in puddles, life zipping by in all its chaotic beauty. Through the lens, he saw clarity, a way to document not only what was, but also what could be. Just as life appeared to be settling into a new rhythm, the past reared its head unexpectedly. Susan, unable to reconcile her new status as an outcast, approached him one evening at the edge of the school parking lot, where Matt had just finished another round of basketball practice with the kids. She looked disheveled, her eyes haunted and bloodshot, and the indifference Matt had so carefully cultivated threatened to resurface. "Matt," she started, her voice wavering. "Can we talk?" He regarded her with cool detachment, feeling the storm of emotions swirl inside him. "What more is there to say, Susan? You've made your choices." "No, please," she pressed, stepping forward, desperation clawing at her features. "I know I messed up, but I've made mistakes. Can't we start over, just for the kids?" It was almost laughable. The audacity of someone who had systematically dismantled their family was a bitter reminder of how low she had fallen. Start over, after everything? That's rich coming from you. You don't get to dictate how this works anymore. Matt's voice was steady, unwavering in the face of her remorse. He had fortified his heart against any semblance of sympathy, but seeing her so frail struck a chord deep within him. Long gone was the woman he once adored. In her place was a figure marred by the weight of her decisions. He felt no pity, only isolation creeping in around him once again. "I'm sorry doesn't cut it. I've spent months rebuilding my life, and that doesn't include you," he spat, the fury rising again. "You chose this path, and now you must accept the consequences." The wind picked up, a chill lacing through the parking lot, mirroring the icy reception he gave to her pleas. He could see the flicker of a fleeting hope extinguish in her expression. But Matt held no power left for remorse. This was his moment, the culmination of his meticulous journey to reclaim autonomy amidst emotional wreckage. Days returned to their regular rhythm, but like a barely healed wound, the confrontation left traces behind. Events moved on, but their echo resounded in his daily life. His children remained his joy, the motivation to be a better man. In those moments, drenched in affection and laughter, he found the strength to let go of the darker memories, each day erasing the residual sting of betrayal. Yet, the focus on self-care and healing manifested in unexpected ways. One afternoon, he picked up a call he had been ignoring, a potential photography gig. It was a small opportunity to shoot a charity event for local nonprofits, trying to raise awareness and funding for families affected by domestic violence and homelessness. As he accepted, the realization hit him. Not only was he reclaiming his passion, but he was also using it as a vessel for positive change, a means to contribute back to a community wounded by circumstances beyond their control. The event arrived, energizing the local atmosphere with hope and art. Surrounded by advocates, survivors, and inspirational stories, he felt a renewed sense of purpose welling within him. Each click of his camera captured moments of resilience, the warmth of a shared meal, kids playing within the safety of love, and adults cherishing bonds formed through collective struggle. Matt's art transformed into an outlet, a platform to narrate stories of triumph against all odds. He displayed his work at the charity auction, immediately received recognition within the community, and reinvigorated relationships with those that mattered. It felt like a rebirth, a reclamation of dignity, both for himself and for those whose stories he could share through his lens. Free from the weights of his former life, he relished this newfound identity. Through active healing, Matt discovered a deep-rooted strength, a conviction that drew him forward, knowing that he was shaping a positive narrative in stark contrast to his past. Beneath the warmth of the community, the shadows of betrayal gradually dimmed, illuminating a clearer path ahead. In moments of reflection, he understood the complexities of forgiveness and moving forward. Wounds brought about resilience, but closure would come only when he solidified his worth outside the shadows cast by Susan's betrayal. As time unfolded, so too did his understanding of love. This time, for himself, for his children, and for the community he began to embrace so wholly. He had battled darkness, raged against despair, and emerged armed with lessons that fortified him, a master of photographic storytelling, willing to confront the world anew. Life would continue to evolve, but this backdrop was painted with an artistic flair and emotional depth that would guide him forward in ways he had never envisioned before. And so, beneath the open skies holding endless possibility, Matt chased his passion with passionate intensity, etching moments in time that celebrated survival, healing, and the triumph embedded in every day. The future, albeit uncertain, shimmered brilliantly before him, a canvas seeking the strokes of fate, crafted by his own hands, one snapshot at a time. As the months rolled on, Matt found himself less shackled by past betrayals and more immersed in the vibrant life he had built with his children and through his newfound passion for photography. The initial shock of his marriage's dissolution had transformed into a steady resilience. Each day was a fresh opportunity to shape his narrative, moving further away from the pain as he embraced moments of joy, creativity, and community. The charity event had provided not just exposure, but connections. Local media began to take an interest in his perspective on life and art, and he found himself invited to share his story. The more he talked about his experiences, his struggles, triumphs, and the power of reclaiming oneself, the more he realized that his journey resonated deeply with others. Survivors of adversity were drawn to his authenticity, encouraging him to weave together both his story and his passion into a project that could uplift and inspire. "I think you should consider curating a series," Rebecca suggested one afternoon, sitting across from him at a cafe where they often met to discuss legal insights turned friendship. "You've documented not just your journey, but the strength of community. It could be cathartic for both you and others." Matt pondered. A series, a collection of images showcasing resilience, recovery, and the raw beauty of life intertwined with struggle and triumph. Inspired, he began to piece together a project focusing on the themes of healing and hope. He reached out to local nonprofits, survivors willing to share their stories, and venues interested in displaying expressions of endurance celebrated through art. As his vision crystallized, so did the friendships that had blossomed amidst the wreckage. Supporting him through this evolution were colleagues and friends who found strength in his determination. They became a network, all aimed at showcasing not just his photography, but their stories, testimonials of strength forged in hardship. The collaborative spirit ignited a renewed vigor, and Matt found himself at the helm of something much larger than he had anticipated. Weeks passed, and encounters turned into relationships. It wasn't long before the concept of Through the Lens of Resilience was born, an exhibition aimed not only at showcasing Matt's work, but the powerful narratives of individuals who found their way through tumult. The local gallery hopped on board, attracted to the project's depth and purpose, providing space for Matt to frame his vision. The day of the exhibition arrived, and an almost palpable excitement hung in the air. Matt stood at the entrance, his heart racing as people began to filter in, drawn to the ethos behind the gathering. Friends, family, and strangers mingled, all brought together in shared experience, with stories illuminating the space, just as the photographs lined the walls. As he walked through the gallery, he spoke to guests who connected with the images, the smiling faces of survivors, the grit, the authenticity encapsulated in black and white. The emotional weight of the moment was undeniable. He propelled deeper conversations rooted in optimism, encouraging exploration of pain and hope intertwined within the human experience. Each photograph sparked dialogues between attendees, drawing attention to the importance of community and support in the journey of healing. During the event, he noticed Susan hovering at the edge of the gathering, a specter of guilt that had become a faint memory in his heart. She looked different than he remembered, less confident, more vulnerable. Tentatively, she approached him. "Matt, He raised a hand, his heart hardening at the thought of her past transgressions. But instead of reacting with anger, he inhaled deeply, centering himself. "Not now, Susan. This is bigger than us." The words hung between them, and to his surprise, Matt felt no burning rage. Rather, an inexplicable calmness washed over him. He recognized that his journey was no longer about her. It was about his growth, about healing. He chose to honor the space they had created during the evening, standing firm in the clarity he had achieved without resentment. Despite her presence, the night was a triumph. Conversations flowed, laughter echoed, and stories surfaced in a tribute to resilience. As he stood back and watched people connect over the shared experiences, he realized that he had created a platform not just for his healing, but for others. Each time a guest smiled before an image, expressing feelings ignited by the visuals, he felt his heart swell with pride and satisfaction. The culmination of the night arrived when a local news outlet featured the exhibition, focusing on not just the art, but its message. The piece highlighted the power of community, the strength of storytelling, and Matt's role as an artist, lending his voice to the voiceless. As images of the event flashed across screens, he felt the rush of recognition echo in the air. Suddenly, the past felt less like a burden and more like a foundation upon which he had built something meaningful. Matt felt a rush of profound satisfaction knowing he had forged his path, not merely rising from ashes, but igniting a beacon of hope for others navigating similar struggles. With the exhibition winding down, Matt took a moment to reflect. His mind drifted to thoughts of his children and what lies ahead. He had not only reshaped his identity, but offered a newfound sense of confidence, demonstrating to them that even amidst pain, beauty can manifest. It's a lesson he hoped they'd carry with them throughout their lives. What mattered most was the deep sense of purpose he had unearthed, the true understanding that healing, hope, and transformation could spark joy where despair once thrived. Each photograph told a story, much like his own, a testament to resilience, shedding light on the darkness surrounding betrayal and emerging into authenticity and strength. As the guests slowly began to depart, Matt stood at the exit, extending thanks to everyone who had supported him, who took the journey alongside him. It was a celebration not merely of art, but of healing through connection, reconciliation with oneself and the world. His heart pulsed with warmth, gratitude washing over him as he recognized the immense power of healing through community. And as he locked eyes with each visitor, he realized he would never again be defined by the shadows that had once clouded his heart. He had emerged not as a victim, but as a voice, an artist, and above all, a father who was ready to guide his children through life's complexities with humility, strength, and unwavering love. The journey was ongoing, yet through every trial and triumph, he understood that the light would always find a way back into his life, illuminating paths ahead filled with hope, forgiveness, and the possibility of new beginnings. As the initial excitement of the exhibition began to fade, Matt found himself in a reflective state, contemplating the tenacity of the journey he had undertaken. The words of gratitude exchanged with friends and strangers alike echoed in his mind, each interaction reinforcing the strength he had cultivated amidst chaos. The success of the exhibition had reignited a flame within him, and he felt invigorated to dive deeper into his work, both behind the lens and in the local community. Matt wasn't merely content with the applause that came with the exhibition. He wanted to ensure a continuity of support for those whose stories had been shared through his photographs. The overwhelming response encouraged him to initiate a series of workshops aimed at helping participants express their narratives through art. The aim was simple: to create safe spaces where healing could take form through creativity, a concept that resonated deeply with him after his own experiences. He approached Rebecca with his idea, inviting her insights on how to develop a structured program that could cater to various audiences, especially those closely connected to his mission. Let's plan something that caters to individuals who've experienced trauma. Help them unleash their stories and find healing in the process, he suggested enthusiastically. Rebecca's eyes lit up at the prospect. That's a brilliant idea, Matt. Art therapy is crucial for many people. We can collaborate with local organizations, secure funding, and bring in professionals to guide them through the process. With renewed momentum, they set about crafting the framework for Healing Through Art, a series of workshops that would encompass various storytelling mediums, from photography to spoken word and painting. They sought partnerships with local nonprofits focused on mental health, domestic violence, and community rebuilding. The goal was to incorporate a holistic approach, providing participants with a platform to share their experiences while learning valuable skills in adapting their emotions into artistic expressions. Weeks turned into months as Matt meticulously planned everything, pouring his heart and soul into ensuring each detail aligned with the overarching mission. He knew it would require more than just personal investment. He wanted to cultivate a supportive network that would hold everyone accountable and empower their journeys. As the workshops kicked off, Matt watched nervously as participants began to fill the space, a diverse group with stories steeped in pain, hope, and resilience. Witnessing their initial hesitancy was a stark reminder of the barriers he had faced. It reignited memories of his own vulnerability. He recalled the exhibition's opening night, how fear had nearly paralyzed him before he stepped into the public eye and found his voice. In facilitating these workshops, he recognized that he had to offer a safe, welcoming environment where sincerity could flourish. The first session commenced with introductions. Matt encouraged each participant to share their story in whatever form felt comforting. Some spoke softly, their voices barely above whispers. Others launched into heartfelt accounts, filled with anger or regret. Each story weaved a tapestry of shared struggles, and as Matt listened, he felt a profound sense of unity. Participants began to see reflected in each other the facets of their lives, searching for healing and collective understanding. Art is a medium like no other, he shared later in a session, standing before them with an animated spirit. It can capture the essence of our truth. No matter how broken we may feel, we have the power to tell our stories, transform our pain into purpose. Slowly, they began to explore creative avenues. Photography lessons served as a gateway for many, offering them an opportunity to frame their experiences visually. With Matt's guidance, they experimented with perspectives, light, and editing, infusing their emotions into each shot. He watched, heart swelled, as individuals found solace in framing not just their truths, but the world around them as they started to see beauty where once there was darkness. As the workshops progressed, friendships blossomed within the group, allowing their shared experiences to pave the way for trust and empowerment. Laughter punctuated moments of tension as participants honed their craft, celebrated their growth, and rallied around one another whenever doubts crept back in. Together, they championed vulnerability. A powerful bond echoed through their photographs and narratives, showcasing their evolving identities. Over time, the foundation Matt built began to extend beyond the confines of the workshop. Participants wanted to showcase their growth and newly forged connections. Inspired by their own journeys, they collectively decided to organize an exhibition of their own, where they would display photographs and artistic pieces they'd crafted throughout the sessions. It would become a powerful testament to resilience, an embodiment of community solidarity that had taken root in unexpected ways. The days leading up to the exhibition flew by in a whirlwind, but Matt remained committed to facilitating every step along the way, offering advice and resources. As the opening night approached, energy crackled in their small group, excitement blending with nerves. They spent late nights assembling exhibits, curating pieces that captured their transformative journeys, each individual showcasing their radical self-exploration through art. On the evening of the exhibition, the gallery buzzed with anticipation as friends, family, and community members arrived. The atmosphere brimmed with shared spirit and unity, filled with laughter and hope. Matt stood aside, taking in the scene, proud of how far they had come together. As the guests filtered through the exhibits, the participants shared the stories behind their works, art mimicking life in intricate detail. Photographs once taken in shadows now illuminated the wall, showcasing vibrant color and depth. Matt watched their faces transform, not just through the act of sharing, but in the recognition of their roles as storytellers. They had moved from the sidelines into the spotlight, ready to proclaim their resilience. In a moment of reminiscence, the sonorous tones of a spoken word piece reverberated through the gallery, shifting the energy in the room. One of the participants, Jenna, stepped forward to a microphone. Her voice trembled at first, but with each verse, passion ignited the air. "We're all storytellers of our pain, wrapped in art's embrace," she declared, her fervent delivery drawing everyone's attention. As she continued, the audience became a mosaic of emotions, a powerful reminder that they were bound together through not just survival, but the choice to thrive. Matt's heart swelled as he observed, realizing that healing itself was an art, a practice of resilience that unfolded in intricate melodies and snapshots of hope. As Jenna concluded, the room erupted into applause, an overwhelming chorus of love and support that resonated deeply within the participants, who were finally living as their authentic selves. In that moment, Matt understood the magnitude of what he had birthed, a movement of transformative power forged through art, connection, and vulnerability. He had not only reclaimed his own narrative, but had become a catalyst for others to rediscover theirs. As the exhibition wrapped up, he felt a sense of purpose surrounding him like a warm embrace. His heart swelled with gratitude for the serendipitous path life had led him down. Matt knew this was just the beginning. His commitment to empowerment had sparked a movement, a collective desire to uplift others through the stories cradled within their shadows. Focused now on the future, Matt envisioned expanding to include digital storytelling and workshops for entire families, bridging the gaps created by trauma through shared experiences. Whatever was to come, he was ready to face it, armed with the strength of community, radiating hope, and breathing life into the tales that connected them all. As the glowing remnants of the exhibition lingered in his mind, Matt felt a renewed sense of clarity and purpose. The success of the gallery night ignited a passion in him, one that went beyond just photography. It transformed into a calling to advocate for mental health and community support through artistic expression. Reflecting on the connections he had forged during the workshops, Matt was convinced they could extend far beyond the walls of the gallery. The idea began to take shape, a community arts festival that emphasized healing through creativity. Art for All would celebrate local talents, providing opportunities for artists, survivors, and advocates to share, teach, and connect. The festival would include booths for showcasing artwork, interactive workshops, live performances, and spaces for dialogues surrounding mental wellness. It was an ambitious vision, one that would require collaboration, funding, and considerable effort. But Matt was relentless. He embarked on a quest to bring this concept into fruition, gathering a core group of enthusiastic collaborators from previous workshops. Together, they strategized plans, divided responsibilities, and reached out to local businesses and nonprofit organizations for partnerships. To fund the event, they organized community drives and sought grants, leveraging the momentum they had built in the months since the healing workshops. "Imagine the impact we can have," Matt exclaimed to the team, gathered at a local cafe. "Not only will we showcase our work, but we'll also provide resources and awareness to those who need it most. This is our chance to galvanize the community around healing." They encountered hurdles along the way, budget constraints, confusion around logistics, and coordinating schedules that aligned with myriad participants. One rainy afternoon, while sitting together surrounded by notepads and half-drunk coffees, frustration bubbled over. Several of the team members felt overwhelmed, questioning whether they could pull together something on such a grand scale. "We can't give up now," Matt encouraged, his tone steady. "Each challenge we face is an opportunity to strengthen our resolve. We need to remind ourselves why we started. Let's harness that energy and channel it into action." With renewed determination, they recalibrated their efforts, focusing on key aspects of the festival, setting targeted milestones, assigning specific roles, and seeking support from each other. As the days unfolded, Matt was heartened to witness the team rally around the vision. Their enthusiasm transformed into tangible progress. The excitement was palpable as they secured a date for the festival and began gathering local talent eager to participate. Health and wellness organizations agreed to set up resource booths, providing information on mental health services, and local musicians excitedly volunteered to perform, resonating with the idea of connection through art and expression. Each person that joined the effort further validated the importance of the festival, and slowly but surely, the vision solidified into reality. When the day of the Art for All festival finally arrived, Matt could hardly contain his anticipation. The sun-drenched park brimmed with color, laughter, and swirling energy, as vendors set up booths filled with paintings, handmade crafts, and informational materials. Children chased one another across the grass, and the air throbbed with creativity, alive with the hum of possibilities. Thankful families poured in, warmed by the vibrant atmosphere, while Matt and his team, like hummingbirds, flitted from one booth to another, ensuring everything unfolded seamlessly. Attendees eagerly explored the exhibits and engaged in conversations. The line of participation stretched from the stages set up for performances to the workshop spaces where people could create their own art. Time passed in a whirlwind as Matt introduced various segments of the festival. Workshops on photography, poetry writing, painting, and other forms of art. Participants, including those who had been part of the earlier workshops, stepped into their roles as facilitators, fostering an atmosphere rich with encouragement and support. The energy surged as strangers became friends and began to find comfort in shared experiences. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, casting golden hues across the park, the headlining performances commenced. Local musicians took to the stage, sharing their stories through song, capturing the emotions that flowed through the crowd. The spirit of healing unfurled itself effortlessly. People resonated with each note, their hearts echoing their own journeys through the lyrics. Matt stood at a distance, watching the scene unfold before him. The laughter, the art, the raw emotion. In that moment, he was struck by the profoundness of what was happening. The festival had transcended into a movement, connecting people through shared stories woven into a tapestry of experience. As dusk approached, he took to the stage, the energy crackling in the air as he prepared to address the gathering crowd. Standing under the fading sunlight, he felt an exhilarating mix of nerves and exhilaration surge within. "Thank you all for being part of this beautiful day," he began, his voice steady. "Together, we've created a space where healing and creativity intertwine, reminding us all of our shared strength and resilience." He shared snippets of stories reflecting the participants' journeys, revealing the legacy this festival was building. A legacy of hope, empowerment, and community healing. The audience was engaged, leaning in, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of surrounding lights. We are not alone in our struggles. Our stories connect us. It's in sharing our truth that we begin to heal. Today, we celebrate creativity and connection, knowing that together, we can lighten even the heaviest of burdens, he concluded, his heart racing with gratitude. As he finished his speech, an eruption of applause filled the air. Cheers of encouragement echoed back at him. His community was alive with camaraderie, each person a vital thread in the fabric they were weaving together. Embraced in this moment, he understood that healing traveled along the threads of connection, forming a powerful tapestry that could reframe relationships and revive hope. As the festival came to a close, Matt returned to the remnants of the day, reflecting on the connections forged, the stories shared, and the triumphant atmosphere that enveloped them all. He stood among his friends, participants, and their families, relishing in the triumph they had collectively experienced. In that moment of revelation, he knew that this was not just a festival. It was an ongoing journey, a lifelong movement toward understanding, artful healing, and collective empowerment. It became a catalyst for future workshops, exhibitions, and continued community engagement dedicated to nurturing creativity. With newfound passion, Matt looked forward to the path ahead, ready to walk side by side with resilient souls, committed to turning grief into art, pain into love, and despair into hope. The chapters of his life had taken a significant turn, filled with the promise of shared healing amidst laughter, acceptance, and unwavering support. As he wrapped up the day, he gazed out at the horizon, the glow of potential illuminating the skies above. Each moment echoed a promise, the commitment to continue shaping a world suffused with love, understanding, and the brilliance of artistic expression. Together, they would embrace the power of storytelling, crafting a narrative rich with the beauty of resilience and the reminder that healing is possible through art, community, and the shared journey of healing together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm light over the remnants of the Art for All festival, Matt felt an exhilarating blend of exhaustion and fulfillment coursing through him. The day had not only been an event, it had transformed into a milestone, marking a pivotal moment in their community's journey toward healing. It also underscored for him the power of collective action, the magic that happened when individuals came together with a shared purpose. In the following weeks, the momentum from the festival did not fade. Instead, it fueled the expansion of their initiative. The workshops blossomed into a regular program, creative healing sessions. The initial feedback had been overwhelmingly positive, reaffirming Matt's belief in the power of artistic expression as a transformative tool. He received numerous messages from participants eager to continue creating, sharing, and healing. In response, Matt restructured the series to include peer-led workshops, where individuals could share expertise in various artistic mediums, such as painting, writing, and music. The community had rallied around this idea, and local artists stepped up to volunteer their skills, eager to facilitate sessions and foster connections. Joy spread through Matt as he realized his vision was not only sustaining, but evolving beyond his original expectations. One evening, as he sat at his kitchen table, reviewing the incoming requests for workshops, he received a call from a local mental health organization that had been impressed by the festival's impact on the community. "Matt, we've seen how your initiatives are making a difference, and we want to collaborate," the voice on the other end said earnestly. "We believe combining our resources with your artistic outreach could amplify the message of healing and recovery for even more individuals who need it." Excitement bubbled within him, and he quickly agreed to discuss collaborative opportunities. This partnership could expand their reach exponentially, allowing more people to access the creative workshops. They envisioned a series of events that combined therapy with art, allowing professionals to guide participants through their creative journeys while providing mental health support. As planning progressed, Matt grew ever more focused on integrating the therapeutic elements, ensuring that mental health resources would be readily available. He arranged for licensed therapists to co-facilitate sessions, blending their expertise in mental health with the emotional benefits of art. This combination fortified the intention behind the creative healing sessions, to offer a holistic approach that nurtured both creativity and emotional well-being. Yet, amidst the excitement of partnership and community engagement, Matt couldn't shake a sense of tension lingering in the background. Susan had been noticeably quiet since the festival, choosing largely to stay clear of the activities surrounding the community. He understood her absence. It was a direct consequence of the choices she made. Despite his own progress toward healing, he felt a thread of unresolved emotions regarding their past. One breezy afternoon, he found himself unexpectedly face-to-face with her at the local park, where they'd walked many times with their children before the split. She was seated on a bench, her gaze distant, and the sight struck a chord deep within him. The memories of their life together raced through his mind, both the joyful and the sorrowful, the love intermingling with the betrayal. As he approached, her eyes flickered with recognition and hesitation. "Hey, Matt," she greeted softly as if unsure of what to say. "Hey, Susan. How have you been?" His tone was diplomatic, masking the complexity of emotions that bubbled beneath his surface. "Honestly, not great," she admitted, rubbing her hands together nervously. "I saw the festival pictures and heard how it turned out. It looked amazing." "It was. It felt incredible to connect with the community and see so many people come together to heal," he replied, noting how much pride filled him at the thought. "You should have come." "I know, I just felt out of place," she answered, glancing down at her hands. "I don't know if I deserve to be part of that." Matt weighed her words. The disappointment he once harbored began to shift. Susan's admission conveyed a vulnerability he hadn't seen in a long time. Her struggle with the repercussions of her actions, the deep understanding of the distance created by her mistakes. "Everyone deserves a chance at forgiveness, including you," he said cautiously. "Healing is a journey, and some paths take time to walk. If you truly want to reconnect with the community, I think it would be beneficial for you." Susan met his gaze, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I wish things could have been different," she murmured, and for the first time Matt felt a glimmer of empathy. It became clear to him that although their marriage had dissolved, there could still exist a foundation for conversation and healing, especially in front of their children. "I think we owe it to them to start rebuilding some kind of relationship," Matt suggested gently, watching the emotions cascade over Susan. "For their sake, and maybe for ours, we need to find a way to move forward." The air between them softened. In that moment, he understood that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It didn't erase the past. But it could mean carving a path forward, grounded in understanding instead of resentment. While he still felt the sting of betrayal, the weight began to lift, and the possibility of reconnection emerged as a pathway to coexistence. A future anchored in mutual respect and shared parenting. Susan nodded slowly, appreciating the chance he was extending. "I'd like that," she replied hesitantly. "I want to be there for the kids, and I want them to see us work toward being okay together." They parted with plans to discuss co-parenting strategies to engage in dialogue about their children's needs moving ahead. As he walked away from the encounter, Matt felt a shift within himself. The unresolved emotions that had previously tethered him now felt less constricted and more open, like a door cracking just enough to let in a stream of light. In the weeks to come, he enacted many discussions with Susan, navigating their co-parenting responsibilities with the utmost care. Each conversation became more manageable, flowing with honesty that had been absent for so long. Both of them were committed to ensuring their children felt the love from both parents. Amidst these shifts in interpersonal dynamics, the creative healing sessions continued to flourish, the partnership with the mental health organization elevating their reach. Matt and the facilitators saw more people finding solace in art, making connections that illuminated the power of their experiences. It became a colorful backdrop against which the community could rally, transforming pain into imperishable strength while sharing creativity. The festival transformed not just the immediate scope of the initiative, but laid the groundwork for a growing legacy, a movement that inspired hope in the lives of individuals who walked through the doors seeking healing. With renewed purpose, Matt embraced each moment, intent on cultivating the art of healing, both within himself and in the growing community of resilience surrounding him. The future beckoned with promise, filled with the light of possibility and the strength of connection. And Matt was ready to seize every opportunity that arose. As the creative healing sessions progressed, the fabric of Matt's life began to weave itself more intricately with the community he had nurtured. Stories of transformation emerged regularly from the participants, resonating deeply and reinforcing Matt's belief that healing could indeed happen through the artistry of expression. The workshops offered not only a release for individual pain, but also a bridge to connect with collective experiences, fostering a sense of belonging that blossomed as friendships formed among attendees. One particular participant, Lily, a single mother struggling to find her footing after a tumultuous relationship, became a regular fixture in the sessions. With a fiery spirit and a touch of sarcasm, she initially approached painting as a way of venting her frustrations, dabbing paint onto canvases with the kind of fervor that spoke to her inner turmoil. With each brushstroke, she transformed her anger into bursts of color, capturing emotions she had channeled internally for far too long. Initially, her work reflected the chaos that engulfed her. Tormented faces and jagged lines transitioned into hopeful imagery, a sky kissed with hues of dawn and flowers breaking through the cracks of concrete. During one afternoon workshop, as everyone gathered around their easels, Matt noticed Lily staring intently at her latest piece, a blooming garden bursting forth from tumultuous surroundings. "This one feels different," she declared, her voice laced with both excitement and curiosity. "I can't quite put my finger on it, but it feels like I'm actually moving forward." Matt stepped over, inspecting her artwork. The energy radiating from it was evident. It pulsed with life. and he could almost feel her journey painted across the canvas. "You've taken the chaos and sculpted it into hope," he commented, glancing back at her. "That's not just progress, that's transformation." Her eyes sparkled and a smile broke across her face. "I never thought of it that way. I just needed an outlet, and suddenly I feel lighter." Encouraged by her success, Matt decided to elevate her art from the workshop walls to the community. He asked Lily if she would be willing to showcase her work in an upcoming exhibition that would highlight pieces created during the sessions. "It's time we show the world what healing looks like, through your lens," he suggested. Her response was a mix of disbelief and excitement. "Me? Display my work publicly? You're not pulling my leg, right?" "No joke. Your journey deserves to be shared," he assured her, his sincerity palpable. "You could inspire others to find their voices." As their conversations unfolded, other participants began to step forward, revealing how their own pieces had bridged the gaps in their lives. Stories of loss, triumph, and recovery poured forth. They all spoke of wanting to share their progress, not only to reflect on their journeys, but to connect with those still walking down that uncertain path. With renewed determination, Matt organized a themed exhibition titled "Emerging from Shadows," intended to showcase not just the art, but the narratives behind them. This time, the event would feature the voices of participants alongside their creations, fostering open conversations about healing, vulnerability, and transformation. Leading up to the exhibition, Matt devoted himself to coordinating logistics with the gallery, promoting the event through social media and community channels, while sculpting an inviting environment where healing stories could emerge. He extended an invitation to local mental health organizations, engaging them to contribute to the event as a valuable resource for attendees, emphasizing the importance of support as individuals navigated their journeys. As the day of the exhibition approached, participants anxiously finalized their pieces, honing their narratives until they felt ready to share the intimate details of their journey with outsiders. On the eve of the event, Matt found himself backstage, bathed in soft lighting as he prepared to gather everyone before the doors opened. "You all have poured your hearts into this work, and it reflects not only your struggles but your bravery," he assured them, helping ease tension as he paced the room. "And remember, your story is powerful. Use this moment to connect." He felt a collective energy as they clasped their hands together for a moment of shared focus, a gentle reminder that they were stepping into the light not only as artists, but as storytellers, ready to inspire those who faced similar darkness. The evening arrived with palpable excitement, crowds trickling in from various corners of the community. Lively conversations filled the air as attendees engaged with the art on the walls, captivated by the courage that poured forth from each piece. Alongside the vibrant visuals, the promised narratives were prominently displayed, inviting viewers into the artist's journeys. Matt moved through the space, a sense of pride swelling within him as he witnessed the artists blossoming into their own. Lily, standing beside her work, effortlessly drew in a small crowd, recounting her experiences and the emotions that had guided her creative journey. In that moment, a spark of recognition lit within him. He had indeed created something transformative, an event that tied together the spirit of the community, influenced by raw honesty. As the night wore on, several individuals approached Matt, commenting on the impact the stories had on them. Some were brought to tears by the bravery displayed, while others expressed their relief in discovering they were not alone in their struggles. The atmosphere brimmed with unity, a testament to the symbiotic connection between artists and audience, proof that creativity birthed conversation and healing. In one corner, a young woman embraced Lily, her voice quaking as she disclosed how she had been hesitant to express her own pain. "But seeing you walk through it, it gives me hope. I think I want to try," she admitted, her eyes shimmering with tears. Matt's heart swelled at the sight. He knew the ripples of this event would continue onward, the threads of each story weaving through the fabric of the community, forging new paths toward healing. By the end of the night, the gallery had transformed into a crucible of shared emotion, laughter, and acceptance. As attendees began to filter out, still buzzing with inspiration, Matt took a moment to step back and appreciate the tapestry they had collectively woven, a stunning embodiment of resilience stitched together by creativity and honesty. Later that evening, as he gathered with the participants for a post-event debrief, he stood before them, brimming with gratitude. Tonight was more than an exhibition. It was a celebration of our collective strength, he expressed. You've each embraced the power of vulnerability, and in doing so, you've lit the way for others. Thank you for trusting me on this journey, and in turn, trusting yourselves. As cheers erupted and the atmosphere throbbed with excitement, Matt realized his ambitions had transcended personal healing. He had become part of a larger narrative, fostering connections that spanned beyond art. The movement wasn't just about him. It was about a community inches away from radiating raw beauty. Going forward, Matt envisioned a future rich with possibility, ready to cultivate this momentum into something enduring, a space where creativity flourished, healing flourished, and every individual could step boldly into the light of their own truth. The journey through shadow had birthed a movement, and he was determined to ensure its light continued to shine brightly, illuminating paths for many more to follow. In the weeks following the success of Emerging from Shadows, Matt's commitment to the community and the spirit of healing continued to flourish. The momentum sparked by the exhibition opened doors for additional workshops and events, allowing the creative healing sessions to expand into other areas that were close to his heart. He began collaborating with local organizations to create targeted sessions for specific groups, such as teens grappling with identity and families navigating trauma. Each initiative strengthened the bonds being forged within the community, reinforcing the message that artistic expression could serve as a powerful tool for personal and collective recovery. Matt received numerous messages from participants eager to share how these sessions had helped them process their emotions, many reporting breakthroughs they had long sought, yet struggled to articulate. One afternoon, as Matt finalized plans for the upcoming Voices of Tomorrow youth workshop, he received an unexpected email from a high school principal, Mrs. Ramirez, expressing interest in bringing his programs into the school. The students, she explained, were facing pressures stemming from academic stress, bullying, and the complexities of growing up in a digital age. I believe your approach could engage our students in meaningful ways, she wrote. Art offers our teenagers a voice when they often feel unheard. Touched by her words, Matt immediately set up a time to meet. Over coffee, Mrs. Ramirez described the challenges facing their student body, an alarming uptick in anxiety and hopelessness. This isn't just about creating, it's about empowering our young people to express themselves, he said, picturing a vibrant workshop infused with creativity and vulnerability. As they collaborated on integrating art into the curriculum, Matt realized the magnitude of what they were undertaking. It was more than just workshops. It became about providing a refuge, a sacred space where students could navigate their feelings, share their stories, and develop resilience. Through art, they could find their voices in a world that sometimes seemed to drown them out. Together, they devised a plan for a semester-long program, combining traditional art creation with discussions about mental health, resilience, and self-acceptance. The program would include various mediums, including painting, photography, spoken word, and creative writing. Matt was incredibly excited to reach a younger audience, hopeful to instill in them the confidence and skills to explore their emotional landscapes. As the school semester commenced, excitement surged among the students. It didn't take long for the sessions to resonate. They participated wholeheartedly, often surprising themselves with the talent they uncovered. In one session, they experimented with photography, capturing candid images of each other, moments of laughter, candid expressions, even moments of vulnerability. Matt observed how they bonded during this creative exploration, each photograph telling a story that revealed their true selves. One student, Aiden, stood out among them. He was quiet, often retreating into the background during discussions. But when he picked up a camera, something transformed. A flicker of enthusiasm ignited in his eyes. capturing the world around him with surprising depth. His photographs spoke volumes, encapsulating the beauty he saw in the world, intertwined with the struggles he faced. "I see things differently through this lens," Aiden said during a small group session one day, holding up a photograph of his friends engaged in a candid moment of laughter. "It's like I can focus on the good, even when everything feels so heavy." Matt's heart swelled at Aiden's revelation. He recognized the profound impact a simple medium could have on shaping perspectives. That's exactly the beauty of art. It can guide us through the dark while allowing us to appreciate even the smallest moments of joy, he praised. As the weeks progressed, relationships and trust deepened within the group, enabling students to explore difficult conversations about mental health and emotional struggles. During one powerful session, Matt facilitated an open dialogue about anxiety and depression, inviting everyone to share their experiences if they felt comfortable. Tears streamed down some students' faces as they spoke about their challenges, feeling overwhelmed by expectations, academic pressures, social media comparisons, and family conflicts. They spoke with vigor and vulnerability, struggling through anxiety, but finding comfort in the cathartic environment they discovered together. "I've felt so alone in this," Sarah, one of the students, admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "But hearing everyone else, it makes me realize I'm not." The sense of solidarity in the room deepened in that moment. Matt recognized that this was where true healing began, a shared understanding that transformed isolation into a collective journey toward resilience. As the semester drew to a close, the students planned a culminating event to showcase their work and share their journeys with family and friends. They wanted to express their growth and transformation, inviting loved ones to witness their newfound confidence and artistic exploration. On the day of the event, excitement permeated the air as students prepared to display their artwork. The gymnasium, normally used for sports, morphed into a vibrant gallery featuring their creations. Banners adorned with uplifting quotes hung from the walls, and each student's work was presented beside their personal stories, encouraging open dialogue about their respective journeys. As families began to arrive, Matt observed the nervous energy among the students. "You've put your hearts into these pieces," he reassured them. "Each story is powerful, and they deserve to be heard." When the event officially kicked off, students stood by their artwork, eager to share their stories. The gym buzzed with conversations between parents, siblings, and friends, while contributions from musicians and spoken word artists further enriched the atmosphere. Parents listened intently, some crying in recognition of their children's struggles, while others celebrated their resilience and creativity. Aiden, standing confidently beside his photographs, engaged his family in conversation. "This one captures how I feel when I'm overwhelmed," he explained, pointing to an image depicting chaotic reflections in a puddle. "But this one," he said, shifting to a photo of his friends, "shows what I love most, my support system." The pride radiating from both students and their families filled the space with warmth, healing tension that once loomed heavily over many of them. Matt felt an overwhelming sense of joy in witnessing their journeys become not only shared experiences but celebrated milestones. As the night came to a close, Matt gathered with the students, feeling a swell of gratitude. "You've not only shared your art, you've opened avenues for understanding and connection," he commended. "Watching you all illuminate your stories tonight shows the world the strength that exists within each of you." The students beamed, their transformative experiences evident in their expressions. They walked away feeling empowered and heard, as if a new chapter began, not just as artists, but as advocates for their mental well-being. With this success resonating within him, Matt felt invigorated to expand these programs further. He began brainstorming ideas for future workshops and initiatives that could create more platforms for youth to explore their emotions, express themselves, and embrace their individuality without hesitation. Through the threads of storytelling, community building, and art, a newfound purpose blossomed within Matt, guiding him toward creating spaces that encouraged connections, healing, and bold self-expression. He knew the path ahead might be filled with both challenges and triumphs, but he was committed to fostering light, resilience, and creativity, all deserving of celebration in a world that sometimes seemed overshadowed by darkness. As he looked ahead, Matt committed to this journey, watching young individuals embrace their art as pathways to self-discovery would ignite a generation ready to face the world with authenticity, advocating for their mental health, and boldly stepping into their own narratives. The possibilities felt boundless, and he was eager to continue this enriching adventure, ready to sow the seeds of creativity and empowerment throughout his community.